A local family on a quest for answers after their loved one died in a recovery center, and sadly, she wasn't the only one.
Those looking to get clean from addiction usually look for help at rehab centers, right? And tonight, one center operating in several states, including here in Ohio, is in the hot seat.
19 Investigates Winnie Dortch sits down with that family still seeking truth to what really happened.
And we want to know what happened. We want the honest truth.
This Akron family desperate on a hunt for answers. At the very least, they want closure. Their loved one, 29-year-old Samantha Thompson, died August 28th.
She was loving. She was an artist, a poet. She loved everything art.
It was here where she took her last breath. Praxis Landmark Recovery Center in Willard, a facility where people go to get help while struggling with an addiction. Thompson dealt with mental health issues and alcoholism, but no major health problems according to her family. Her mother, Rebecca, says she was doing better, but on August 27th, she relapsed. Thompson checked herself into Praxis just before 5 p.m. She was dead less than 24 hours.
My thoughts at that point was that she had overdosed. I mean, I thought that's what made sense to me, but I couldn't believe that that was the case.
How is that possible?
How is that possible? She was doing all the right things and making all the right choices. We were buried in her belongings and we went through them, and there is not a single thing in there that would suggest she was suicidal or that she was contemplating using hard drugs. She had a small setback that evening.
Rebecca says she was told they checked on Thompson every 30 minutes.
11:30, she was breathing and warm, and noon they went in to do their 4-hour nursing assessment, and she was found unresponsive.
19 Investigates obtained a copy of the incident report the facility submitted to the state regarding Thompson's death. It says the staff discovered Thompson around noon and began life-saving measures while calling an ambulance. EMS and police arrived 12 minutes later, continuing resuscitative efforts. They then took her to a local hospital at 12:28. According to Rebecca, a detective said her daughter was already in a state of rigor mortis before she left Praxis.
Called EMT, they arrived on site, and they were pretty confused about the condition of Sam because she had rigor.
Rigor mortis is the stiffening of joints and muscles of a body a few hours after death. The National Library of Medicine says rigor mortis appears approximately 2 hours after someone dies. The family says in that moment it had become clear something wasn't right. Were they really checking every 30 minutes?
We believe they lied to us, saying that she was fine and everything was good, but it couldn't have been. It couldn't have been. The rigor really hit us hard.
Yeah.
Thompson's death certificate says cause of death is still pending.
Regardless of the cause of death, she wasn't given the level of care, or she could have been resuscitated. Possibly, we'll never know. If she had been seen as these people documented that they had, she very well could have possibly been resuscitated, and it wouldn't have been a death.
19 Investigates has confirmed the Willard Police Department is investigating her death. However, the chief of police declined an interview. We stopped by the Willard location, hoping they would give some information about this tragedy.
I'm just coming to follow up here about a patient's death that happened at the end of August. Okay.
Former patients, their families, and even workers telling 19 News these Praxis centers do more harm than help. They're concerned about the lack of care, treatment, and the unfortunate deaths. It's a similar story in Indiana, where there are several of these centers there too. The Joseph County Coroner's Office confirming 3 deaths in July within 1 week at the South Bend site. Also a suicide death. 9 former patients collectively filed a lawsuit. Documents show on several occasions employees failed to adequately supervise their patients, including allegedly failing to prescribe medication, do welfare checks, and feed patients. In July, the state suspended licensing at 3 of the centers in Indiana. 19 Investigates reached out to Landmark's corporate office about Thompson's death. We are waiting to hear back. However, the family believing all of what those patients experienced in Indiana may explain what happened to Samantha.
It's neglect. It's substandard care. You know, I don't know if it's inadequately trained staff, lazy staff, bad management. They're focused on greed and money. They want to fill bed, and they admitted her when they shouldn't have, and they didn't take care of her as they needed to.
This is just part one of this story. Coming up in part two, I'll introduce you to a man who was a patient at the Euclid location and here at the Willard location. He shares his experience. In Willard, Winnie Dortch, 19 News.
So the Huron County coroner says toxicology and final autopsy results still pending in determining Samantha Thompson's cause of death.
That investigation is still ongoing, and the coroner tells 19 News, quote, "At this time, there are some inconsistencies between when she was found and when she was last felt to be alive, which is also under investigation," end quote.